Okay guys, so if you've just watched my review video, my couple of months review video, I'm now just following on from that, and I'm going to do a quick feed-in. As I explained earlier, I'm actually in my kitchen because it's absolutely raining downside, and I've got loads of food that I got out of the freezer yesterday to feed up, so I need to get this done. I've also explained why I've actually got two trays running at the same time. So this is the bonus additional tray because I think I ordered too many worms, and maybe I had too many worms for that one whilst there wasn't enough food or it was still too sterile. So I'm going to do a very brief feeding on this one because any worms that are in here have actually migrated down from that one and decided not to live in the sump. Although if you just watch that video, we did find quite a few in the sump being the tray with the tap. So I'm going to put a little bit of food on there, then I'm going to put quite a bit of crushed oyster shell on, just to help any worms' digestion with it they've got. But there's so much cocoa coir still down there to eat through. They've got plenty of food. I don't want to put too much more on because it would just go mouldy. Mould's not necessarily an issue for worms, but you don't really want a mouldy worm bin. And this is the top bin. So this is the one that's got a lot more worms in it, and if you watched the last video, that's the one where we saw the two worms reproducing, which I didn't show much of because it's just two worms connected, and also worms don't like the light, so I didn't want to stop them. But I have found cocoons in this one. I found one cocoon actually on that video. I do know there's more in there, and there is a few cocoons in there that I found the other week. So we're going to do a very light feeding on this one, and then we're going to do quite a big feeding on this one. I'm going to put some more bedding into most, and then pop it back outside and leave it, and then I'll come along and do a review in a few months. So the food we've got here is just a mixture of food waste. So in there you've got tea bag, you've got a bit of banana, celery, carrots, broccoli, cooked vegetables from a Sunday roast that I made. And in here, for the first time, this is actually the if anyone uses a fruit juicer, so to extract the juice from the fruit and vegetables, this is the pulp that's left over. So this will probably go a lot quicker because it doesn't have to be processed, they don't have to chew it, it's pretty much mushed up. And then this is the oyster shell that I bought from a pet shop, and then I've just ground it down a little bit more to make it a bit finer, so I'm going to sprinkle that on top. And then I've seen on YouTube someone uses these eggshells, so I thought actually if this one's compressing, maybe I'll put this down like that, it might just give it a little bit more buoyancy. So here we go. So I've moved this to one side already. I'm going to sort this bit out later. There's a toilet roll in there with some toilet rolls inside it. So a bit like using the eggshell, maybe that's just going to give it a bit of space. What I'm going to do is just dig down here where the hole, make a hole, hopefully you can see that. Again, apologies for the camera work, I am going to get a better camera I can hold a bit better for next time. And in here I'm just going to put in this processed food. So the first time there's been any celery in this worm bin. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Just going to put that in there. I'm going to just briefly cover it up. Now all the worms are over this side at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then over here, as you can see, there's still bits of food anyway. If you've seen my other videos or other people's videos, they say you should try and feed it on one side at once, and then the worms will migrate between the two sides as and when you feed them. There's a worm, look. Wormy! So likewise, all this cocoa coir is still quite damp and edible. You are wiggling. So I'm not going to put too much food in. So I'm just going to put in a handful of stuff. Apparently they do like tea bags, but it's suggested that you rip the tea bag open a little bit like that. And again, sorry for the light, it's not brilliant in here. So we are inside. Just going to put in random bits of food there. Again, they don't need too much down here because there's quite a lot of food already. I'll just put it on top and you can find that straight away. Ooh, fresh food. That's either, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a baby worm. So there has been cocoons in here, which is good. That worm's going to start to bury itself down soon. Now, I've never used this oyster shell before, I've literally bought it today and ground it down. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on top, like that. Hey, I'm going to put quite a bit on, just because I want it to have lots of grit. So there we go, that's literally how we feed it. Obviously, if it was a more active bin, as you see when I do this one in a minute, you would put a lot more food there. and cover it up, but there we go, that's fine. I'm going to pause it now. I'm just going to put some fresh bedding on. The fresh bedding, as you know, is just shredded paper and cardboard, and then I'll cover it all back up. I am just going to stick this on as well, actually. I'm going to put it right above where we had that. So that eggshell there, I'm just going to leave it on top. I've buttered it in a little bit and put the stuff around it. Just interested to see what happens if the worms decide to crawl into it, or if they want to lay eggs or castings in it, etc. If nothing else, it just gives it a little bit more bedding. Inside that bit also give it some air pockets, because the worms do like to breathe. But yeah, I'm going to put the bedding on now, and then I will come back. Okay, so here we go. This is the top tray. I'm trying to do this one a bit more quickly than the other ones. So that is the bottom tray now set up. Again, I'm doing this in my kitchen purely because it's raining outside. The lighting's not brilliant either. So what I've done is I've dug a trench here, which you probably can't see greatly, but dug down deep, moved all this stuff over here. This is where the bed, and this is where I fed last time, and a bit of soil here. There's actually another worm cocoon right here. Oh, just dropped it. So there you go. So the worms are now happily starting to do their thing. I'm going to put that in back in there out of the way. It's obviously going to hatch. So what I'm going to do is, because there's actually quite a bit of food in here already. When I say quite a bit, there's not loads, but there's obvious bits of food left. There's an avocado shell here with some green beans in it, a bit of avocado fruit and some eggshells that I've chopped up. I'm getting a mixture of both. So here we've got some coffee grounds. You can actually get these from my local supermarket cafe. They just bag them up. Just going to put that in the corner. Worms seem to love this. Again, if you read in the internet, there's lots of debate about whether you should put coffee grounds in there if they're bad for the worms' sexual reproduction. But my worm seems to be doing okay after a month and a half. So I'm just going to put a big pile of that in the corner. I've noticed that you can read a lot on the internet about what composting worms will and won't eat, but I guess in the wild they will literally eat anything. And if they don't want to eat it, they won't. So I just think, just put it all in one place, and then they won't. Okay, now I might be overfeeding these, and I'm probably going to get told off by some people on YouTube that do this a lot, but all this is food that I've got out that I want to freeze. I don't want to freeze again, so I'm just going to pour it in. Again, when I get a camera with a stand, this will be a lot easier. So we've got coffee there, and then this is the, I guess you call processed food. It's not really processed. It's gone through a juicer, so I've extracted the juice to make a drink, and this is the pulp of the vegetables. But in theory, the worms can eat that really quickly because they don't have to process it. Whereas unlike this avocado eggshell, obviously they've got to munch through. But again, it'll be interesting to see what goes first. Now, normally when people do experiments, they'll put one type of food in one worm bin. So people that make their own homemade wormeries, that's what they do. There's a couple around. The person I watch in America is called the Crazy Worm Lady. She does loads of experiments. So I'm probably doing this completely wrong, but just because I want to use it up. And then in here is the solid food waste. So this was originally frozen. And there's a tea bag there, so I'm just going to put that tea bag open. And then the worms can get out of the tea bag. I mean, they'll eat the tea and they'll eat the paper, but to help speed the process up. There's also bits of banana in there. It is actually really disgusting. And it stinks, which is why I wanted to do this today. I can get this all back in there and buried. Now this is a big feed-in for... I mean, I bought a kilogram of worms a month and a half ago. I don't know how many escaped. There is quite a lot of worms in here. There's also quite a bit of food anyway. So this is probably a bit too much really, but it's going to be outside and they've got plenty of time to munch through it. So my worms are mainly red wiggler, and what I've been told is they're social eaters, so they tend to all congregate and attack the food together. So I think that's why they talk about, you know, feed in here and then feed in there and then feed in there. So there we go, we've got a good mixture now. There's the coffee. So you've got coffee right down the bottom there. You've got mushy processed food, and then you've got actual whole food here. And all I'm going to do is just cover this over with the existing worm castings and whatever else is in here. And there's actually a bit of banana there. Like that. Don't know what that is. A bit of avocado. So I've probably given it enough food now. So I probably won't have to feed this again for a week. But I will come back and check. I'm going to get some of the oyster shells. Again, I do apologise for the dodgy camera work, but at least you know it's being filmed real and I'm not editing this. And I'm going to be really generous with this stuff, just because this is on top. And they've not had a great deal of grit since they've moved in. That probably is a little bit too much, but it'll just sit there. Right guys, so what I'm going to do now is just cover this back over with the bedding, put it back on here, stick it back outside, and then we'll come back soon. So please do like and subscribe if you want some worm videos. If you want to know about vermicomposting and actually what happens in 3 or 4 months' time, how my composting turns out, because this is a month and a half old, this bin now, so in 2 to 3 months it should be done. I'm not quite following any of the rules, so it might take a bit longer, but the actual worm castings are really good quality. Worm castings is worm poo basically, but it's really nutritious. It's obviously what's left behind, very nutritious for your garden. I do have a normal compost bin as well. If you're here for my cruise ship videos, I've got a cruise coming up in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. Obviously I don't upload the videos exactly when I film them, but this is a whole new cruise ship to whole new destinations, so lots of videos, and I might actually plan the videos rather than just randomly filming stuff and then editing things when I get back. But that's it guys, that is my big first ever feed in, a month and a half into this bin, probably 2 or 3 weeks into this bin. This bin gets compacted down by this bin. Shouldn't really have this bin yet, but I have done. If you want to know why I've got 2 bins sort of by mistake, then please do watch my my review video, which I will link in the description below. Any comments if you know about wormeries and vermicomposting, please do add comments if I'm doing things right or wrong, things you would do different. Any hints or tips, do let me know. If you've got any questions, please let me know and I'll try and answer them. And yeah, so if you have my cruise ship videos, they're still coming, so please do keep subscribed or subscribe if you want to learn more about this vermicomposting stuff, which is quite big in the States but not big in the UK yet, but I think it probably will be. As I said, generally this lives outside, it doesn't live in my kitchen on the floor, but it is raining. Okay guys, so like and subscribe, thumbs up, leave comments, that type of thing, and I'll catch you all soon for another video.